Fear is a taskmaster. Fear paralyzes you, making you unable to function internally, even though externally you're still walking around acting like nothing's wrong. I've always been one to dream, always thinking about the big what ifs and what could happen if I did X, Y, Z. It's not uncommon to walk by me while I'm in the bathroom and hear me talking to myself over what could happen that day, or what the possible outcomes of an upcoming event could be and how that's going to affect me. Or even like rehashing out past events and how perhaps I could have better handled those events. There's something captivating about playing out the possible role and possible happenings of certain things. It makes you work harder when you see dreams that could be even bigger. It gives you a seemingly foot to stand on your purpose. About 2 years ago, we had already been involved in this homesteading lifestyle. We had chickens, we were raising ducks, and there's just something contagious about this lifestyle. You start with one thing and then it kind of just magically grows into more and more. And so we had all the small animals, more birds, but when Tim finally gave me the go-ahead for goats, I was gone. I had a friend, she was getting rid of some goats, and my heart was sold. Those chickens and ducks and goats eventually turned into meat birds for raising our own meat. And that kind of just led to this whole thing where, well, if I can raise my own chicken, why not my own pork? Pigs, I couldn't bring myself to eating my little goats. We had little pygmy goats. So we opted for feeder pigs.
And there you have it. Happy piggies eating on their food. They moved their food troughs, so I had to open up the bag and kind of juke them out a little bit.
And those goats just kind of became pets for me. And as we were raising pork, the thought played off in my mind, why not grow or have our own milk? So we, like I said, I'm a dreamer. Things escalate very quickly for me. So we bred our goat and she gave us milk. And as I got deeper into this world of raising my own food, and I saw more of the broken system in our country, especially like in our area where there's not a lot of good healthy food options. And what is there, a lot of it is inaccessible or struggles to be affordable for a lot of the people in our community. And I saw so many of the health issues in our area were potentially directly related to people's food and what they were eating. And that really just broke my heart. Fear is one of those things that makes you think you're somehow justified in feeling what you're feeling. It gives a facade of being cautious or careful. But truthfully, there is a deeply rooted, highly controlling, underlying thing that's taking over. I started doing the research on the benefits of raw milk, and but also found there were a lot of limitations on acquiring that raw milk that had been slowly knocked away over the past couple of years, but there were still a lot of things in place. We tried to milk our little nanny goat, and she gave us great milk. It tasted so wonderful. It wasn't grassy at all, but it was obviously clearly not enough milk to sustain our family's milk needs. We decided, you know what? We don't have a ton of land, but we have more grass, and I'm mowing more grass than I am not. So let's look into getting a dairy cow. Let's look into supplementing with hay. I have some family and friends who have hay fields but no animals, and let's see if we can make this work. So I did the research on how to care for them, what to do, what you needed, and we were well on our way. We found an older, experienced Jersey cow. The farmer was looking to downsize his herd. He'd been in it and just kind of needed a break for a while. And she was pregnant. She was going to deliver soon, so it was kind of the perfect fit for us. We could get her here, get her settled before she calved. And with her being experienced, she would be hopefully easy for us to get accustomed to how to milk. The previous farmer said that she wasn't a troublemaker. She was a great cow, thought that she'd be the perfect fit for our family. Oh my goodness, she was the sweetest cow. She was amazing. She had the sweetest personality. She didn't get skittish at all. She was completely comfortable with us from the get-go. We would be out there in the field and the kids would be with us, and she would love on them. She would let them pet her. She was an amazing cow. Her delivery was completely uneventful. Perfectly healthy baby boy cow. But after that, it went downhill pretty quickly. We noticed that during labor, she had somehow stepped on her udder and caused one of her teats to be to have an extreme rip on it, and it got pretty infected and pretty nasty, and she let us treat it, but unfortunately the calf was a really, really aggressive eater, and it just would not allow that teat to heal. The second problem we had that I had failed to come across, because a lot of the research that's done for Jerseys was for commercial and not so much for small homestead, was that I did not realize that with a Jersey, because of the high amount of milk she produced, you needed to start milking her immediately, even with the calf still on her. And as a result of me not knowing that and me not doing that, between the cut and the excess milk, she quickly developed a severe case of mastitis. And so we treated it. We thought we were out of the woods until one day we went out and she was down and she was not getting back up. We had a vet come out. She had come out earlier to help us with the mastitis issue that we had, and she was great. And she was, she was awesome. She worked with us. She understood my heart and where we were at. She gave us even more information and education on how to care for these animals. But after a week of fighting, after having neighbors come over with their tractor and helping us lift her up so that her muscles didn't atrophy, we ended up having to put her down, and I was crushed. Those are the moments that really make you stop. They make you question. They make you wonder, and honestly, they make you doubt yourself. When you go to do something, like you think you have all the answers. You think you have all of the information, and then something goes wrong. So fast forward a couple of months. As I started doing more research on different animals and things, I really had a huge draw to different heritage breeds or breeds that were more rare, and had a desire to kind of help play whatever role I could in bringing those herds back into being a little more common. And so I did some research on a cow called an American Milking Devon, and this cow was pretty spectacular because back in the day, it actually was a tri-purpose cow. They used it for milking, for meat, but then also it had a very similar structure to like an oxen, and so they were able to use it in the fields for oxen type tasks. So I started doing some research in our area, and obviously it's a rare breed, and so it was very hard to come by this type of cow, but I found a breeder close to us across the state line of Virginia, and I reached out to him and started asking about his herd, and he had one, and we went and saw her, and we were able to put down a deposit on her. She was a first-time heifer, and as soon as we got, proof of breeding and then pregnancy, we would be able to go pick her up and bring her back here. But obviously it would be 9 months before she calved. During that time period, I had a massive breakout of my skin. I have eczema, and it got to the point where it was almost intolerable. And I had done some research. Like I said, when I did the research on raw milk, I saw evidence that raw milk sometimes helped with certain skin conditions, including eczema. And so that just like put a fire under my butt to find something in the interim for raw milk before our cow delivered. And so I looked in our area, and at the time there was not an available calf share or cow available in our area. And so I expanded my research and found an older Holstein available who was soon to deliver. And so I reached out to him, and we were able to make arrangements to go get her. And we picked her up. She was a very large cow. She was a purebred Holstein, but she was very sweet, very calm. And she was due to deliver very soon after we brought her home, but she actually ended up calving the day after we brought her home. Not long after that, I had our 5th baby, and was sitting in the house one day, and I got a call from my dad, and he said, "Hey, the pigs that you have at my house are gone. I went out to feed them, and they're not here." And to say that I felt hopeless as I waited for a call from my dad or Tim as they were, looking through the woods to find these pigs is an understatement. I was still in my recovering. I wasn't even 2 weeks postpartum, and there was literally nothing I could do. This was our trial run for our meat pigs. This was our trial run for forcing pigs, and the overwhelming fear of not knowing what was going to happen was smothering. One of those pigs was already sold, and all I could think was, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? They were able to find the pigs and get them back in, and I was very grateful. But less than a week later, I'm sitting in the house, and I get a call from Tim. He had gone out to do the chores, and he said, "Hey, Nick, the cow's down. I can't get her up." Despite me still being on recovering and not really supposed to be doing anything, I went out and I went out to see what was going on, and she didn't get up. And in a few hours after I had gone out and looked at her and realized that she wasn't going to be getting up, she passed. And you sit there and you're like, I did everything right. Everything the vet told me to do, I did with this cow. Like, what happened? she had the minerals, she had the hay, she had the grass. There were no infections. Like, what on earth happened? Why did this cow die? In those moments, it's hard to tell when you're actually hearing God's voice. I knew God had sent me on this journey. I knew that God had wanted me to start homesteading, and eventually, this was my retirement plan. I had not planned on doing this until my kids were grown and I was, free to do whatever. But God lined all of this up for me to do this in this season. And eventually, I knew that my calling was to be able to feed other people. And I knew that. I knew that raw milk was going to be good for my family, that I needed to have that as part of our family. I knew that I had done everything in the book. And we still ended up losing this cow. And I'm like, at that moment you sit and you're like, do I really want to do this? Is this really worth it? Was the pain of failure and fear of what would happen next actually going to be worth it? All those moments of dreaming, of the people that I was going to reach, of the people that eventually I was going to be able to feed and love on, and in that moment of complete helplessness, as I'm sitting there looking at a dead cow, the second dead cow, in 2 years, you question, like, is this really worth it? What if I never succeed? What if this whole time I'm hearing wrong, and then like you think about my kids, like my kids are feeling all of these things, and do I really want to put them through this? Those moments of questioning and doubt, they quickly escalated into just complete irrational fear. Fear of what my family would think, fear of what we live on a not a main road, but the main road in our back area, one of the main roads in our back area. And so, like, what were people going to think as they drive by, or my neighbors, these ones that helped me try to save this first cow, now they see a second cow die, all of this fear of, am I doing more bad than I am doing good? And then the ultimate fear, like, what happens when this American milking Devon cow dies? Like, what if I can't successfully raise a cow? This cow that we had invested time and energy and finances into, like, the lies just kept overwhelming my mind as I, in a very, very unhealthy manner, processed all of these losses and all of these potential failures and actual failures as they kept mounting up in my mind. The sneaky thing about fear is it sounds a lot like yourself. It sounds a lot even like God. It toes the line, masking itself as wisdom or as caution. But the whole time, it's actually accusing your calling, your gift. It's creating doubt in something that was once a passion and a mission bigger than yourself. It causes you to look inward for the ability and motivation instead of to the giver of those dreams. I knew there were things that I needed to do to learn and to prepare better for before Gail calved. That was wisdom. I knew I needed to look at her minerals, make sure I had the minerals that she needed, make sure that her food was available and good, make sure water was clean and good. I knew she was a healthy cow. We had no signs of health issues from her at all. And those were things that I knew I needed to take care of. Those were my responsibility as an owner of a cow to do. But beyond that, I knew that I just had to let go. Just last week we had It was the night of a really, really nasty windstorm that we had in our area. The wind blew down a bunch of trees. In fact, the stanchion that we had at the time, the wind came up under the roof, picked it up and flipped it over. It was just like this sail that just caught in the wind and just got sent flying. And so it was crazy. So the next morning I went out to assess the damage. We had the cows out in the pole barn on some deep litter. Hoping to let the grass rest for the next couple of months as spring comes in. And I went out to check on chores and to check on all the damage, and there he was, freshly dropped, beautiful bull calf. Over the previous weeks, I had processed a lot of the fear that I had let control me. Fear that had limited what I was accepting, or what I was willing to accept as my specific calling. Fear that had limited what I was willing to share. Honestly, because I was afraid of people looking at me and thinking of me as incompetent or an idiot or just incapable. Fear of disappointing the people that were around me. And in that moment, of looking at this beautiful calf, I could feel that fear circling back around. I could feel it trying to just sink its nasty claws back into me, and I could almost hear it in my mind saying, hey, careful, don't share this one. He may not make it. Like, careful, like, what if mom gets sick? What if mom dies? Like, you don't want people to know that you failed at this again. And in those moments, even like getting my hair ready for the day or getting changed, like I could hear myself over and over processing the what ifs that fear was starting to plant into my mind. And in those moments, like as I'm looking at this beautiful baby calf, I had a choice. Like, do I choose fear? Do I allow this thing to come back into me? To fear the potential of something that may happen, to feel fear and to allow fear to come over and to take away from these beautiful moments of watching this baby calf grow, this miracle of life that God has allowed me to experience, in light of the potential of what could happen to this calf. Do I allow fear to take over and to minimize the calling that I know is on my life? And in that moment, I was given a beautiful opportunity. Do I embrace fear? Do I let it limit me and stunt me? Or do I embrace what the Heavenly Father has given me to move me forward in this dream that He has given me, even if it doesn't always look like I think it should?
He's doing great. He's about a week old now, I think. He's doing awesome. Some apple cider vinegar to boost her immune system. Let's do this. Come on. Okay. Are you ready? Oh, watch you guys. Stanch it up. Take your time. Take your time. Good girl. Step up. Good girl. Okay, y'all. Good job. Sweet mama. Is it all gone? Can we go find your baby? All right, let's go.
Don't get me wrong. I still have to choose actively to not let fear in my life. I have to remind myself on purpose that it has no place in my mind. It has no authority in my family. In fact, I still have to, my kids are big on the, hey mom, what if? And so I have to remind them, guys, we're not going to speak negative what ifs over our lives. Like, we're going to be thankful for the blessings that we have and embrace what comes and appropriately handle what comes. We're not going to look at negative what ifs. It's not beneficial for us. And I have to understand that failure and problems are potentials. Like, even as I was sitting down to prepare to put this together, like this temptation to be afraid and to not tell my story. Because, like, I don't know. I could walk out tomorrow and that cow have something wrong, but that's not what I'm living for. That's not what's going to limit me in doing what I'm supposed to do. And will I always get it right? Probably not. But I have to remind myself what the bigger goal is, what the bigger purpose is. My dreams and my goals are not the biggest purpose. The biggest purpose is to love people. And if I can't embrace and properly process my failures and things and to eliminate fear from my life, then I can't properly love people because I won't let people get close to me. The reality is I'm not going to always get it right. The reality is that's not my goal, though. My goal is to love people the best that I can. And while I'm not always going to have that perfect, that because my love for people is heavily rooted in my Heavenly Father, that gives me the greatest potential to obey and to walk in confidence and not in fear. No matter what fear may try to throw at me, no matter what fear may try to overcome, the reality is my love for people and my love for my Heavenly Father are going to be what ground me and are going to be what allows me to continue in this dream.